side of him. I think he's still that same Steve. He's still that. But now you're also seeing another side of him that he never had to show.
You're telling people you work with, I don't want you even to be next to me. Like, I have such disdain for you that I'm annoyed by your presence.
It's a TV talk show.
Okay, this was the one he had on NBC just recently.
Whatever, yeah. The one that damn, who took his show from him?
Kelly Clarkson.
How can Kelly Clarkson take your show?
I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges, and there's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt I was?
Steve Harvey didn't just have an easy climb to the top. On his way up, he stepped on a few toes to get there. At least, that is what more and more comedians are starting to say. The fun and joking around is over for them, and now they are telling the truth. According to some people who worked alongside Steve, his rise to fame wasn't completely honest or nice.
Clean. By the way, this is the same guy who rails against people who don't believe in his particular voodoo.
Right? Against gay people.
Against gay people, against Asians.
But behind all the big smiles, the nice suits, and the encouraging speeches, there was a different story. There were friendships that fell apart, jokes that were taken from other people, and secret agreements made behind closed doors. All of this left a lot of angry and hurt feelings in the world of comedy. For a very long time, no one talked about it. But now, people are finally starting to talk. And the story they are telling is not the same one that Steve has been telling everyone all this time.
Selling.
You know, my thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, man, you're using my material.
Let's get right to the point. We're talking about Steve Harvey, one of the most famous people in comedy and on TV. This man started out doing stand-up comedy and moved on to host shows like Family Feud and Miss Universe. He had his own program, The Steve Harvey Show, and he even gives out life advice like a pastor in church. You see him everywhere. He's on talk shows, the radio, and he's written books, and has a podcast with millions of listeners. Steve is the perfect example of a success story. He seems to be proof that with hard work and belief, a person with no money can become a billionaire. But behind all the cheering and his huge business, some of the people who knew him before he was famous are saying something different. They claim that the Steve Harvey you watch on television is not the same person they remember from back when he was just trying to make it.
Right.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless.
Let's go back in time to the 1980s and 1990s. This was a great time for stand-up comedy. Back then, Steve Harvey was just another guy working hard, trying to become successful on stage. He was funny, clever, and really wanted to make it. But he wasn't the only one. There were hundreds of other black comedians working just as hard in the same places. They performed in clubs in Chicago and at open mic nights in Atlanta. You might know some of their names, like Mark Curry, D.L. Hughley, Katt Williams, and Monique, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac. They were all putting in the work, slowly building their careers one joke at a time. Everyone understood and respected the hard work it took to succeed.
Bernie said in the GQ article that when he got Ocean's 11, Steve had reached out to the producers and said he thought he would be a better fit and tried to get the part and blah, blah, blah. And that was that, you just...
But they also had a very important rule that everyone in comedy was supposed to follow. It was the one rule you never, ever break. You do not steal another comedian's jokes. Never. And this is where the problems and rumors about Steve Harvey begin. You see, it isn't just one single person saying he did this. It's something that people have been saying about him for many, many years.
Comedians don't appreciate their jokes being stolen, and Steve Harvey has rubbed several comedians the wrong way. Well, it looks like Harvey has found himself in some trouble.
No Halloween costume.
I think we UPS, I guess. I don't know. You've heard me say that every Halloween I had the same outfit on. I just had a brown box, and he just told me to tell everybody I was the UPS man.
My material on his show, so I had a beef on that.
On what show?
When he was on the bullshit talk show he had, and he did all my Halloween material one Halloween.
He says he knows that Steve Harvey stole his Halloween bit because it was a personal story. He was talking about himself growing up.
This cat is hot. Please put your hands together for Katt Williams.
Saying you are not supposed to be at the gas station making life decisions.
Can't even pump gas like you used to no more.
If you put $15 in your tank, you had time to bond with your vehicle. You had time to put the nozzle in and
Put the nozzle in there and hit it.
set the clicker and look through your car and clean off the dashboard and
Be sitting there talking, be on your phone. Hey, what's happening? Be walking around, cleaning the windshield.
run in the store and get some Pringles and a Snapper, and it'll still be pumping.
Okay, you go in there, bring me a wine cooler. Bring me a cooler, dog. Not no more.
You can't even turn around good for that son of a bitch click. As soon as you put it in, just click, click.
Get in there and start it up, and you can't believe that damn needle is a quarter tank of gas.
The same Steve that went to then you ask it.
And one of the people speaking the most loudly about this is Mark Curry. He was the star of the 90s TV show Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Mark has been working in comedy for just as long as Steve has. And in an old interview that people are talking about again, he did not hold back his feelings. He said it very clearly. Steve Harvey stole my whole comedy act. He took jokes that I wrote, used them on television, and acted like he was the one who thought of them.
We going through something, we'll call each other because we feel for each other, because we know the real person.
Right. Yeah.
I know they lying about you online. I know that podcast is bullshit. Hang in there, dog. Don't pay no attention to that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and look, man, just because you can talk smooth without saying, it don't mean you ain't lying.
Right.
I be sitting up here looking at these podcasts of these other comedians that's going on talking about other comedians. Hold up, dog. Where did that shit come from? When did we become that? When did we get into tear each other down business? Because you ain't never heard me say not a disparaging remark against another comedian nowhere. You ain't heard him, or him. Because we ain't cut from that cloth.
Right.
So what is your motive for doing this here? And you're not going to tear him down. And look, man, I got a real platform.
This wasn't just a guess or something he heard from someone else. Mark said he saw it happen himself. He explained that when the Steve Harvey show was on television, he saw parts of it that he knew were his. He recognized specific scenes, the way jokes were set up, and the funny punchlines at the end. He said they were exactly the same as his own material, word for word. And this isn't the first time someone has said this about Steve. For many years, there have been quiet stories from other comedians. These are often comedians who were not as famous, people who worked for him or performed before he did. They have said that Steve would take their ideas, make them a little better, and then use them for his own work.
Harvey is on his third marriage. His third wife was mistress to his second wife.
He got it. Everybody thinks Steve Harvey's some stand-up man. No, I'm a kiss old girl who owned TV One. He used to kiss her. He had the radio show out here.
It was hot. We had the Steve Harvey show, so we had a national TV show. Bernie Mac was the it comedian at the time, and then DL was hot. He had a TV. But the first year we did it, it was just me, Bernie, and Steve.
Right.
and Steve closed.
You did the first part, and then the second part.
I think, of course, that was, definitely a contributing circumstance, but also.
Like me, like Oprah, Tyler, Lee Daniels, and I gotta put my brother Steve on the list. Y'all knew I was not wrong.
Love every time, had him on my shoulder time. But if you're gonna do another stick, just tell the brother that you're sticking with. Dog, I'm gonna be dogging you on the list.
But Mark Curry is the one who said it loud enough for everyone to hear. He explained, it's okay to be inspired by someone, but to steal their whole comedy act is just robbery. The problem was, when Mark tried to talk about it back then, no one listened. Steve had become a huge star, and nobody wanted to challenge him. Mark wasn't the only one. Comedian Katt Williams also accused Steve of stealing jokes, even saying Steve built his career on the back of their friend, Bernie Mac. This was a big deal because Steve, Bernie, and others were in a famous movie together and were supposed to be like brothers. After Bernie died, people felt Steve tried to take his spot as the top comedian. This idea that Steve would do anything to succeed is something other comedians have talked about. They say he would be nice to your face, but then he might try to take your ideas to get ahead for himself. This is why, as Steve became more famous, he lost a lot of his old friends in the comedy world. This was clear in his public argument with Monique. When she said she was being treated unfairly in Hollywood, Steve publicly disagreed and told her she should just take the money. To Monique, this felt like a betrayal from a friend. It made fans wonder who else Steve had turned his back on. Even Steve has admitted he did some things he isn't proud of to become successful. He once said, "When you're hungry, you eat what's in front of you." Comedians who knew him say this was literally true. He was so ambitious, he didn't care who he hurt. Now, with all these old stories coming out, people are starting to see the cracks in Steve's perfect image. He still has his successful TV shows and books, but the people he worked with on his way up are finally telling their side of the story. It makes you wonder if you can build a huge career on bad actions and still be successful in the end. The people who knew him best are now speaking up, and their silence is being replaced by a much louder truth.